Welcome to the Cosmic Journey. I am Theron. I'm your cosmic weirdo. I am an astrologer, so I use the planets and the stars to bring self awareness to individuals who like to change and become unstuck in life. If you're new here, thank you for stopping by. I hope that you stay and be a part of our community. If you are returning, thank you for coming back. Thank you for hanging with me, and yeah, I'm happy to see you here. So I do ask that you all interact with this video by liking, comment, sharing, and subscribing for sure. This will help other people be able to hear this information and see, get this out to people who may need it and want to know this information. Okay. So, right now, we're about to start a series called The Planets Through the Houses. We're going to discuss the characteristics of these planets as they move through the houses of the natural natal chart. So, let's get to it. Let's talk about the second house. So, the second house is popular as the house of money. However, the second house also is the house of our values, how we value our possessions and how we value ourselves. So self-esteem is seeped into the second house as well. So just to let you know, as we go through all of these planets, we're going to be linking these planets to how you handle your finances and how do you see yourself and value yourself out here in these streets. So let's go. Let's talk about the sun in the second house. So the sun, being a sun of vitality, creative expression, courage, adventurous, enjoying life. Those things are coming into play with your finances and your possessions. So you could definitely be someone who doesn't mind spending money on the things that they enjoy in life, luxury items in life. You may or may not have this is with anybody, but with the sun being in the second house, you may have a stronger self-esteem and self-worth. Provided there's no other challenges there. I say that loosely because if there's some other aspects there, there may be a challenge with the self-esteem part and the value part, because it's so much of your identity because of your sun sitting there, that to really like cultivate that strong self-esteem, it may be a challenge there to separate your self-esteem with the actual material things that you may like to acquire and have close to you. But with the sun being in the second house, you could be generous with your money. You're very, like I said, you're open and you're fun. So you kind of like, you don't really stress about it, finances that much. With that, you may be risky with your finances. There's a chance you might like to gamble a little bit and take some risks, depending on what sign that this is in, or that could work in your advantage, far as risky investment moves that actually pan out for you. But again, that all depends on what sign that's there. The moon in your second house is going to speak to how you internally process your values, the possessions you have, the money you have, the resources you have, the relationships you have, and how you feel about yourself. Your money could be tied into the relationship with your mother, or the feminine energy that influenced your life as you were growing up, that like was in the caregiver role for you. There's some insecurities that can pull up in this area that can dictate how you spend your money. If there's also how you feel about yourself. How do you feel secure? Do you feel nurtured? If you do, chances are, your relationship with money is probably pretty healthy. If you don't, you may spend money in excess, or it depends on what sign is there, but it could be in excess when it comes to making yourself feel better. Retail therapy, just purchasing things to, to bring in that void of um, not being feeling loved or nurtured or cared for. So yeah, the moon brings into the dynamic our emotional needs, our emotional feelings, and so yeah, it would all change and depend on what sign is there and what is aspecting the moon here. But yeah, this is really going to be dictated. The way we spend money and the way we actually acquire money um, will have to do with how what makes us feel secure, and what makes feel like, nurtured and secure, like going after jobs that may be stable, that will give or like family, like when you like a job that make you feel like you're a part of a group or a family. um, those things, like, they play in your decision on how you make money because of that moon and that emotional, whatever that emotional void is. You're going to try to fill that as you acquire money, and you can also spend it if it's like out of balance and you're, really going through it. You can also spend it to try to make yourself feel better. Venus in the second house is right at home. It actually it rules the natural house of Taurus, which is the natural house, the natural zodiac sign on the second house. So Venus, this is where Venus lives. It lives here and it lives in Libra. So when it's in Taurus or in the second house, is looking for a stable, secure finances. So, and they are very driven for the tangible things that can help create that security. Um, yeah, don't mess with Venus with their money. But there's also Venus deals with relationships, like I said, money, resources, what you possess, and magnetism, what you attract. Um, so you can be very if you have Venus in the second house, you have the ability to track those things that will help you feel secure out here, whether it is money, whether it's new relationships. You have that innate magnetism, that innate charisma, if you will, to attract those people that you need in your life to make you feel secure. I know I just wanted to, like, it's about it's a security thing. Um, you're not going to take too many risks with your finances. Um, Again, you like your finances to be stable. You would want consistent income. Um, Taking a risk on, now you might take risks in real estate. You can, you know, um, buy and sell in real estate. And I won't say you won't take any risk in investing, but definitely it would be a calculated risk. It would not be something really frivolous. Um, Generally, with Venus, excuse me, in the second house, it could, depending on what the sign is, it can get that way. But for the most part, um, yeah, long as your values are in check, um, and your values are stabilized within yourself, then your money will also be stabilized for you as well. Jupiter in the second house is a great place to be. If you want to have a Jupiter anywhere, the second house is a great place to be, because it means that Jupiter is going to bring in that energy that's going to expand, that's going to grow. You have the potential of making a lot of money with Jupiter being in the second house, um, depending on how it's aspected and what sign Jupiter is in, and whether it's in retrograde or not. we're not going to talk about all of that just yet. We're just going to talk about Jupiter in the second house. Um, like I said, it's going to expand. It's going to keep your thoughts and you're gonna dream up things and figure out like what's the next step I can take to make money, what's the next step I can take to make, where can I go next to make money. And Jupiter is here for it. That's all it wants to do, is expand. It's going to grow, broaden your horizons, broaden others horizons, so you can actually be a I said make a lot of money, and I'm gonna say you can be a teacher, but you can. Jupiter likes to teach. You might be teaching more on a higher education level, but I can, there is a possibility. If not teaching, you can be into writing books, publishing, radio. You can do any of those things and still be in the characteristic of Jupiter. Thing with Jupiter is, depending on the sign, because Jupiter can be all gas, no brakes. Depending on the sign that it's tied with, you may blow through money like the wind. With the mindset that it's all good, it's all going to come back to me. I got it. It's great. And so you'll take that risk to go all the way down to almost zero, because you have this innate optimism that it's all going to be all fine and it's going to become right back to me. You know, yeah. And so that's all well and good if you're like, out here by yourself. I don't know how, if you have a family, they can handle that type of risk taking. But again, Jupiter like I said, all gas, no brakes. See something, they're going to want it. And, and will take the risk of being in the red if they feel like, if since having that optimism that it's going to come back, and everything will be fine, everything will be fine. And but for the most part, when it is fine, it really will be fine, because you're gonna like I said, Jupiter likes to expand. It likes to unless it's sitting in some sign, I have to say that, unless it's sitting in a sign that has it restricted. If it's sitting in a sign that it has Jupiter restricted, where it can't just blow up like it wants to, it can't grow, it can't do all the things like it wants to. There is it, it can be frustrating, but the key to that is, because Jupiter is still there, you're just going to have to work a little harder to tap into that Jupiter energy, and you probably can't be as risky, because it's going to take, getting into that energy. You don't want to be so risky to like be willing to lose it all, thinking it's all going to come back so easily and so freely. Um, I think of Jupiter as the having that mindset, like, well, just let the ball bounce, or let the cookie crumble. It's all good, And if, like I said, I think I said this in one of my other videos. If the cookie crumbles and it just makes a big mess, I just learned a lesson, and that's fine. And we just start at it again. If it's somewhere that's restrictive and you have to tap into that energy to actually access Jupiter, that type of risk might not be in your best interest, because you will have to keep having to tap in and tap in order to get Jupiter to trigger and to grow and expand in this house with money and values and what have you. So yeah. So I always got to give that disclaimer, because Jupiter can be they call it like a very lucky, prosperous planet. But if it's sitting with some in a sign that is restrictive, you can still be prosperous with it. You're just gonna have to hone in and just really get into that, tap into that energy to really like activate it and to get it to kick into that growth. Mars in the second house, money driven and possessive. Not a bad thing, but because you're in the house of money, to have Mars there, that means you're going to have the drive to go out and get it. You're gonna have that drive and that determination to set that goal. To let's go out and let's get this. You're not gonna sit still waiting on a bunch of um, you know, I guess a list of what we need to do and this is how we need to do it. A lot of planning. No, this is what you see the end result, and you have great instincts, Mars. You see that end result, and therefore you're going to start, and you'll let everything else figure it. You'll use your instincts to see what direction you need to go as you make that track to the end, to the end of that goal. Um, Now, mind you, um, Mars is competitive, so they like to win. So someone with Mars in the second house could very well be in a job or acquire money where they have to compete with other people. Um, and like I said, it could be the financial reward, a possessive or a possession that they are acquiring as an award. Um, far as relationships go, Mars can be, again, competitive and also possessive. They like to acquire things. Um, and therefore, there could be a jealousy streak with Mars. There can be a hot temper, and there can be conflict in relationships with Mars. So, just to put that there with the relationships. And Mars do value themselves, so they generally have a good value system, because they are someone who are they that is the I am the self. Mars is normally housed in the first house of self, so they are already keen on their value, who they are, and what they want in life. Unless they're, like I always say, like an aspect or the sign makes it afflicted a little bit. In general, there is a decent value system that comes with Mars, and they're gonna protect their value system as well. Mercury on the second house um, could bring about, again, another a teacher. Um, the teacher could be more like a K through 12, and not like Jupiter with the higher education. But there is Mercury likes to bring in information and process it and take it, give it back out to a group or to the masses, just like Jupiter. Is just that it's on a more small local scale. But with that being said, I'm sorry, Mercury in the second house, uh, this person could have a job where they are put in charge with negotiating, um, because they are receptive of people's body language. They are what they say, what they're not saying. Mercury is paying attention to all the how we communicate in all aspects. So they're looking at facial expression, body language, and all of that. So they're very good at negotiating. So they may acquire money through negotiating with, in their company or what have you, that they work with. Um, Mercury can be organized. There can be calculating. When it's dealing with money, they're going to make more. They're not going to take as much of a risk as, say, as Jupiter or maybe even the Sun, but they're going to take the risk, but they're going to do the study for it. They're going to make an educated risk. So there be more of a long-term investments that they want to go in, and so they can kind of keep track of how things are going and how much they're getting a rate on their return. Um, they like to feel secure, and they usually acquire possessions to make, for that secure, like material things. I should say they acquire material things to help them feel secure. So they're not adverse to spending money, depending on their sign. They can be known to be a little stingy. Um, Again, depending on what sign is there with Mercury. Um, but they still, even if they are stingy, where they call them self-proclaimed cheap or what have you, there's still an aspect of wanting this thing to make them feel better. So that depends, that's talking when you do that, make buying something make you feel better, that's somewhere on that range of how you value yourself, and thinking that you may be of more value if you have some that tangible item. So that's that with, Mercury has that dynamic. They say they don't like to spend money, they like to save it, they like to keep it all neat and packaged, and what have you. However, there is that also that need to purchase something to um, make them feel better sometimes and make them feel secure. I feel like if Saturn is in your second house, you are learning a lot of hard lessons around finances, around relationships, around your own value system of who you are, your self esteem. Because Saturn just is restrictive and very authoritative. It's about time, so it slows you up. It won't let you just, you know, you you just always think that you've gotten over something or gotten past something, and Saturn may kind of like trip you up to let you know, no, not you. You're not quite past this where you need to be to get to the next level that you need to be. So, someone with Saturn in the second house, I can see that money was restricted in some way where money was restricted in some way. There's probably been times where money was really tight. Um, and you have like in all, Saturn wants you to be successful. It actually, that's part of like Saturn, like, hey, you got to be successful. They want you to. It's part of their reputation. Like, come on now, we got to be successful, but they're not going to let you do it without paying your dues. So one thing with Saturn, once you tap into that energy and you learn the lessons that they're placing in front of you, that they're making you go through, and you begin to just to learn those lessons, you will see like money will increase, relationships will be different, like all these things that you was having a hard time and you felt like you just kept bumping your head up against the wall, those things are starting to open up. And but with that being said, that happens later on in life because it takes us a moment to understand like these are lessons that we need to learn to level up, and so we would repeat them over and over again sometimes. And so some of this success that Saturn wants for us will not happen until we're a little older and more mature to understand these are lessons to level us up. If we get through the lesson, we learn it, um, then you know the money, the relationships, and everything will change, and we won't feel like we're trying to go uphill in mud. You know, um, there is a if you are pretty, if you have let me just say this, if you have Saturn in the second house though, you can try to do like investments that are long term, something that moves slow and not too risky, but is in the long run you'll reap the rewards. Same thing with money, same thing with us and our value system and our self-esteem. Just, I know it's hard, but you have to learn the lesson, and as you learn the lesson you level up, and as you level up more will be rewarded to you. So yeah, that's Saturn. I wish I could say something different about Saturn, but it's by design. It's restrictive. It's just authoritative. It's almost like that strict father figure that harps over you and make sure you get the job done, and you're going to do it right, or they're going to make you do it again. That's pretty much how that goes. Uranus in the second house. Um, Finances can come to you in unique ways. You may even have an occupation that hardly anybody has ever heard of, um, because you Uranus is just a uniqueness, individuality. They a standalone type of energy, and therefore you can acquire money, and like I said, just in just about anything. But it would probably be something where people would like, I didn't even know that exists. I didn't even know people make money doing that. And you're like, oh yeah, like duh. So you can also, with Uranus, it's very innovative. It innovates for the collective, so you can have something to do with technology. You can be making, software development, something where the collective can benefit from it. Because Uranus does have a humanitarian aspect about itself. So even though they want you to be, they, well, Uranus wants you to be an individual, and it wants you to be yourself. It wants you to be yourself within the collective. So it's about humanity. It's about the collective and everybody rising and being their individual selves collectively to actually um, to elevate themselves. So yeah. Um, Now the other thing with Uranus being in the second house is your finances could be or could have been very unstable. A lot of ups and downs with it, a lot of disruptions. As soon as you think things are doing fine, a disruption comes and you have to figure out a new way of doing something to acquire money. um, yeah, Uranus is disruptive, but it also brings in clarity. So it's like it's going to disrupt some things to like create the unstable feeling, but it also is going to give you the clarity to figure out the solution. It doesn't leave you high and dry. So what looks like, it is unstable, and you probably like, oh my God, especially depending on what sign Uranus is in. But sometimes you can go with the flow, and sometimes it rocks the boat so much that you kind of feel unstable mentally. However, if you just tune in, there is going to be a lightning bolt clarity that's going to come with the solution to help you get on the other side of the instability to stable out again. Um, and you probably learn a lesson or two to see what caused the disruption in the first place. So, with Pluto in the second house, Pluto has a determination to be successful with money. There's a determination to succeed. There's also an indication that you can make your money and be successful by helping people with their own money. So, like, you can be a banker, an investor, something on those lines. Um, Maybe real estate, something where people are using their money, but their money is actually helping you um, acquire money and be successful and make money. So, some type of commission based position comes to mind that can happen definitely here in Pluto. Um, yeah, with Pluto in the second house. Pluto also likes its possessions. So there could be spending on things, spending on people, because Pluto can also find people to be possessive. I mean, possess people. So, that's there. You can also You can also be a person who's successful in some sort of detective research work because you're able to dig down and unearth things, and you're not afraid to go to the depths to get the answers. So that's there too, and that's also can tie into money because you're able to dig through and maybe be creative on how someone can invest and spend their money. So that's don't be surprised if you have Pluto placed in the second house, that at some point in your life, um, your finances, your possessions, your self esteem, something took a transformation. It like probably burned down to the ground, not literally, hopefully not literally, but it burned down to the ground You could have like lost a job. You could have been gone through some sort of like blow to your ego, blow to your self esteem, blow to your value system, and then you had to rebuild it again. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if that happened to you once or maybe even twice or so while Pluto is in um, that second house. But the rebirth, understand, is a leveling up. You don't come back the same, you come back better than. So, even though it's hell, literally, when you're going through it, it's when you come out of it, you kind of appreciate what you just gone through because you can see the success that you are gaining from that transition. Neptune, so, in the second house, someone with Neptune in the second house may have some challenges on being realistic with their finances. Um, they may be shoot, it's just a lot, some delusion around their finances, where they are not really clear on um, how to spend their money, um, and what to spend their money on. So you can probably witness them, quote unquote, wasting a lot of their money. And at the moment, is for a sound reason. And then after the fact, you realize they didn't really have a grasp on the reality of the totality of what they were actually spending money on. Having said that, though, this person can also make money being a healthcare provider. They can make money just being a caregiver in general. They can make money as a intuitive, some sort of spiritual practice, like intuitive, use their intuition or their psychic abilities. Um, because they definitely have that talent within them. Um, they can also be too generous with their money. Sometimes Neptune has a hard time keeping boundaries and setting boundaries and keeping them. So they could run in a risk of actually, like, anybody who asks for money, they can have it. You can grab it. It's all yours, it's all ours type of thing. And they usually, like, again, not give having the totality of the reality of it, can see themselves going kind of self-sabotaging themselves by um, not being completely tapped into reality or harnessing themselves to something greater than themselves, to keep them in alignment, to make better and sound decisions. So last but not least, Chiron. Chiron is not a planet; it's a half comet, half asteroid, but it is so important, in my opinion, in the natal chart. Wherever Chiron is at, there is a wounding there, and yeah, a wounding around somewhere where we feel like we're not enough. So, if you have Chiron in the second house, chances are you have some wounding with financial security or just your security in general, where, you know, coming up as growing up, um, things were bad financially for you all, and you equated that, like, personally, that means that you were not enough as a person because you may not have had the same security as others around you. And I'm just saying a scenario. You know yourself whether what that type of wounding was, as far as your security factor, meaning like roof over your head, clothes on your back, um, money for food. Those things somewhere along the lines, um, were it there was some sort of, like I said, wounding that took place there, where you interpreted that you're maybe undeserving, you're not enough, and you have to fight through that, because with Chiron, it's the wounded healer. So even though he was wounded, um, and he did his best to heal himself, he also he also healed others. So you're going to always, having to deal with that wound is going to always pop up. It's going to always need some sort of attention at some stage in your life. Over, it's just something that you're going to always have around you. um, but also the key is, though, as you, um, help heal yourself, you will be able to help others who are also dealing with um, that same energy around Chiron in the second house. So there is that. Um, yeah, that's all I want to say about Chiron. But I wanted to make sure that's there because it is important, to our. It's an important characteristic that we have to look into when we looking into the natal chart, in my opinion. And I didn't want to leave it out. So thank you for hanging out with me again. If you've went through the first, house, and now you've stayed through the second house, thank you. And if you're just watching the second house, welcome again. And I will be dropping the other houses pretty soon, if they're not there already. Um, so yeah, I hope you all are enjoying this. I would like for you all to interact. I want to get to know you all. So please like, comment, share, um, and subscribe. Definitely share with somebody who may, have some of these placements that might need some insight. I do, personal natal chart readings. Right now they are discounted, and I will have the link down in my bio. So I want you all to have a great day, and I will see you soon.